Hi, I'm Soumya Gupta, and welcome to the Data Decoded podcast. In every episode, we feature trailblazers who are reshaping the data landscape, leaders from technology, industry veterans, compliance specialists, and the innovators working behind the scenes. Tune in to learn from the lessons of the past, act with clarity today so we can responsibly prepare the data of tomorrow. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Data Decoded. We have Jeffrey today as our guest. Hi, Jeffrey.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. So we are on a Wednesday afternoon recording this session. Jeffrey Tan is a accomplished professional with over 2 decades of leadership experience in ports, maritime, shipping, logistics, infrastructure, and supply chain management sectors. Today we'll be focusing a little more on the supply chain side of things. He currently serves as the president of the supply chain management chapter and a fellow FSCS at the Singapore Computer Society. Having worked at organizations like Moller Maersk, positions at Crimson Logic, Capital, and the IMDA Singapore and PSA in key roles for product, technology, and companies' growth strategies. Today, Jeffrey would be shedding some light on how manufacturing side of things, how the supply chain optimization can be done by leveraging the right ways for data management and data architectures. So, Jeffrey, how do you feel today?
Good. Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for inviting me for this conversation.
Thank you. Yes. So, Jeffrey, you've been working in supply chain sector for quite a long time, right? How has the experience been? How have you seen the trends changing over the years?
Well, I guess for myself at least, I have never dreamt or aspired to be actually in this sector. It was by chance that actually I joined this sector after graduation. I was actually lucky to get into a job after the dot-com bubble burst and the financial crisis during the early 2000s.
Okay.
So from there, when I joined the sector, I actually was with the Port of Singapore, PSA, and it is a kind of experience that I actually went through that nobody could imagine on how cargoes are moving, across the border. How do you get your shipment, your item that you order on the shelves of the retail stores and to your house, right? On the e-commerce orders that you have put in.
Yeah.
So from there, the supply chain and logistic was a kind of at an era where it's going through a lot of challenges, including digitization, and there are a lot of platforms that are built that are probably proprietary in a way to be used by the organizations to actually manage supply chain and data flow. Uh,
Right.
and as we have in this sector, we always focus on three main flows, right? The flow of the product, the cargo, the flow of the
Mm-hmm.
information, and the flow of the money, which is the financial flow.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how the sector has been, and we sort of move forward, carry forward this into today's context. Today's sectors are predominantly more digitized. There are more data made available. There are more open source or open platforms that are actually made available for you to use to actually facilitate that cargo movement.
Oh, I love it. How you broke it down between it's all about flow of product, that is cargo, information, and finances throughout the supply chain, and how one thing complements the other, and that just works out for the better of each other, right? Let's talk about one of the biggest and the most common discussed use cases of manufacturing and supply chain, which is visibility and traceability in supply chains, right? Now, the challenges that I have been seeing with popular manufacturing industries where visibility becomes a challenge is where there is outdated systems that are being used, which do not really talk to each other that well, and the interconnectivity and the combined visualization slash analytics cannot be really worked out because of the fragmentation and data silos that get developed from the source side itself. And there are multiple systems, as you just mentioned, that there are proprietary systems that organizations set up. within themselves to manage. And because there's this lack of standardization, the interoperability and the integration doesn't fit in so seamlessly, leading to major other problems like the predictability is low of the stocks, and the quality is not really managed because of the lineage is not proper. So how do you solve these problems? How have you seen these problems become big bottlenecks in productions?
Yeah, this is a very, very deep topic to actually talk about. And I guess it wasn't so prevalent until when the COVID pandemic outbroke in 2020, right? Or
Uh-huh.
2019, in fact. So this is where we see the entire supply chain actually, came to a halt, or the problem starts to sort of magnify. And this is not something that is actually happening overnight, and predominantly in this sector, it's a very disparate,
Hmm.
very globalized, very uh, uh, challenging sector to digitize, as it has been one of the oldest industry for the longest time. And supply chains today are still pretty much sort of being challenged by fragmented data, delay updates and stuff. What you actually outlined was actually one of the key stakeholders, or one of the nodes in this entire global supply chain, which is manufacturing. And manufacturers typically runs on an ERP systems that is a legacy, and it's pretty much a ERP system that is enclosed within the organizations. But when it comes to supply chain planning, in order to have the end-to-end visibility, there are many other stakeholders in the entire value chain that is actually required to provide that relevant information and to be connected, so that it is seen as a seamless flow of cargo and information. So as we mentioned in the earlier part about the three main flows in our sector, the flow of cargo, the flow of information, and the flow of financial data or
Finance.
finance in this case. In our sector, there's always a saying that the cargo will only move as fast as the information. So without any
Okay.
information in place, nobody could receive the cargo, because you don't know what's actually inside this particular cargo or product. And that goes down to the fact that if you do not have real time and enough data information, that sort of slows down the entire movement and flow of the supply chain itself. So in industry like pharma, food, and high value electronics, they require real time traceability for compliance and safety and quality assurance. And a good example is that some of the global retail companies actually are losing millions of dollars due to misplaced inventory, shipment delays caused by poor visibility. And
Yeah.
this is a fundamental problem in the industry itself. Even today, even after COVID, yeah.
Yep. And I feel data lineage, right, is very, very essential, especially for the manufacturing side, because visualizing the flow of data, it helps you really identify where which batch went wrong, what is the quality that got compromised where, so that it can help you with other things like working out the stock, that it should not get overstocked because of the wrong batch. Then it can start helping you to track right from the raw material processing up to the order placement processing, and then the final delivery of the consumer. So I think data lineage especially, right, it is very, very essential. Whenever we go to clients, we'll the first thing that they will have to know is from the traceability chain where exactly what incident really happened. And so about visibility and tracking and traceability, one common myth is that more data is equal to more visibility. So, how would you like to debunk that? I mean, this is a common assumption. Okay, put sensors here, 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 here. Let's capture from IoT from wherever possible. And what do you have to say about it?
Yeah, this is a very controversial point. I guess for the fact that yes, the industry itself is very hungry for more data, or I would say more accurate data, and more real time data. But yet, at the same time, there's a lot of noise in the data.
Mhm.
The more you get sometimes it may not be a good thing. As you said, the industry have tried many different technologies and solutions like IoT technologies, including RFIDs to Bluetooth to anything that actually works to track real-time data, movement of cargoes, movement of pallets, movement of anything, movement of containers along the way of the
Mhm.
entire supply chain. So and with that, everybody envisions that or sort of assumes that the industry actually has real-time data. Industry actually has a visibility on the movement of cargo and the supply chain. But when you really ask that question to any of the shippers, freight forwarders, they might be caught. You might be caught in a situation that they actually is not aware of where the cargo is or where the cargo has been,
Right.
or where the cargo is at this point of time. And this is a surprise to a lot of people. But the fact is that this industry is pretty disparate. There are many stakeholders. There are many people owning the data. There are many people
Mhm.
sharing the data. There are many people requiring the data.
Yep.
It's kind of a complex situation to manage. I would say that it's a good and bad thing to really have more data. I would say more data helps you to be able to piece things together, but yet
Mhm.
it's the same thing that garbage in and garbage out kind of a situation. If you are getting data that is of no relevance or no use to the entire business situation or the business case itself.
Right.
This is where I always think that when it comes to data analytics, it comes to all this situation. It's really about data, the ability to process data, and the knowledge to be able to analyze the data or the outcome that the data actually brings is very important. And the knowledge is actually a very domain specific. We're talking about the
Of
supply chain
course.
industry.
Of course.
When you go to another industry like finance sector or even like service sector, retail, it's another different ball game because the business case are very different.
Yep, yep. I think it's about the difference between hoarding versus harnessing. Just keep hoarding data from multiple sensors and multiple IoT devices without really having context to that data is not going to give us any value. Like 50% of data that really comes in, there are two problems here. It is not integratable to the final analytics flow because it's all fragmented due to legacy ERPs, proprietary or ERPs. Plus it's not cataloged. There is no context that is added to those sensor data and IoT data, and it's at the end it's just numbers and bytes and you can't do anything about it. So
Exactly.
yeah, and so more data is equal to more visibility is okay, provided you have proper context to it, provided that the lineage is captured so that you can actually predict the issues that might be coming, and you can reduce the recall numbers wherever you can, right? So yeah, another thing that I hear often in supply chain is predictive versus reactive monitoring of supply chain, right? Did I get that
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
So yeah, so can you just first explain what is predictive versus reactive?
Well, I think in order to be able to do that, I think we must first understand the fundamental problems.
Hmm.
So even with after the lessons learned from COVID, right? Many of the supply chains today are actually operating in a very reactive manner.
Hmm.
So things like shipment delays, stock out, supplier failures, are often dealt with when they occur, right? You typically can't predict that situation or take action before it actually happens. Even the very simple fundamental things like when the stock level runs low, does it trigger automatic triggers a reorder of replenishment for the stock
Hmm.
itself? I believe today it's still pretty manual. It still takes the store manager or somebody to act on the procurement part of it to really
Right.
trigger that process to bring in the inventories. So this is
Yep.
where supply chains are very reactive today. Not just reactive to the day-to-day operation, but reactive to situations that's happening around the world. For example, in the more recent case of the Red Sea cases where the vessels can't move through the canal anymore, and
Hmm.
things have to change, and people are all reacting to it, right?
Yep.
when the war happens between Ukraine and Russia. That was also one of the situations that everybody is starting to react to it. It's a reactive more than a predictive or a prescriptive, even a prescriptive model, which is very far away from where we are today.
Yep. Yep.
So companies actually today lack predictive insights. This is due to and this is this is actually causing inefficiencies like overstocking, understocking, or delay order fulfillment, as I mentioned.
Mhm.
So all the incidents that happen actually highlights this vulnerability. And during COVID, one of the sector that was actually quite disrupted was like semicon and FMCG sectors and all that.
Mhm.
And this is something that we recognize. In order to move from reactive to predictive and then eventually to prescriptive, is a journey. I think we can
Yep.
really talk about more about it later.
Yeah, I mean, what is going to happen between Ukraine and Russia, we can't really predict. So we'll have to wait for reactions on that one. But yes, but what are some technological steps that we can take in terms of technology, in terms of preparing for something like that that may happen within our systems? How can we align our systems to really give outputs immediately?
Yep. I think from this is where I guess is a is a very interesting topic to talk about, but yet it's also a very um, difficult journey for most because for the very fundamental things, let's use an example to illustrate. Like um, within your domestic country, within the deliveries that you're making, how does the weather is going to impact the speed of your delivery and your accuracy of your
Hmm.
delivery or your timeliness of your delivery, right? So when it rains,
Hmm.
the floor is wet, the driver drives a bit slower.
Hmm.
Some places are not sheltered or reachable to get the parcel or get the delivery done. That delays the entire process. But then can the system take in weather data to actually predict this or sort of give more visibility to this entire context? Like, it's going to rain like in the afternoon, like what time? And can you sort of plan your deliveries around the time where the rain is happening, or during the rain, sort of expected a kind of delay that is built into the factor of the timeliness of the delivery itself. This is a very fundamental thing that I think anybody can do, right? And
Right.
weather data is actually made available most of the time, open and free to road traffic conditions likewise, right? That actually affects your entire timeliness of your movement of goods. But then when we look at the bigger
Hmm.
picture, there are things that are slightly difficult to predict. But that having said that, it is something that actually occurs uh, quite often, or I would say on a regular basis. Things like typhoon, earthquakes, that actually affects the ports that are actually running the operations, affects the route that the cargo is actually taking.
Hmm.
These are lessons learned over time that actually, if the system has a machine learning capability, and it learns from the way that this situation is being handled, coupled by a very comprehensive set of data to provide the alternatives solution to this entire thing. Probably instead of going through by this seaport, can we
Hmm.
take it on the rail and go through to another country and then go loaded to the other seaport, and the cargo delay is being sort of managed in terms of shipment time.
Hmm.
So this is things that we can do. Of course, the war we couldn't predict, right? If we could predict the war, then with that crystal ball, we can do quite a lot of things. But then the war situation is also something that it could be simulated. And this is like, for example, the high, in the world data, there's already this entire analysis of where the next war is going to happen, right? There's always risk spot and hotspots and stuff. And then there should be a way to simulate when, let's say, the war happens, what's going to be impact, what's going to impact to
Yep.
the route, what's going to impact to the transportation,
Yep.
and all that. It could be
Are we
simulated.
ready for
Yeah.
it? Yeah. Are
Yeah, are
we
we
ready
ready
for
for it?
it?
Yeah, are we ready for it? And then what are the possible solutions that we can put forward to our customers or to the situation that actually happens? These are all possible. It's just that the amount of effort, the amount of time that's going to spend on doing all this is quite intensive. I
Yep.
mean, it is not any company I would say that will be able to kind of devote that kind of resources and time to really build something like this. But if we really
Yep.
have something like this, it's going to change. It's going to change a lot of things. It's going to make a lot of things much more predictable, I must say.
Yeah, yeah. I think the it's very difficult because the number of influences from external factors are too high. You can't really standardize that, okay, something that will work in Russia is going to work in the US also, or it's going to work in Japan also. It's completely different ball game. The way that your particular strategies are going to lead impact. So when we talk about simulation, so yeah, it's very interesting.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
okay, so how do you see like the future of talking about the information flow here? How do you see the future of supply chain change in the next few years?
that's a that's a very big question. I don't have the crystal ball to actually do that. But then,
But is there a trend that you're noticing comparing it from where you're coming from?
well, I think at this point of time, it's quite prevalent that a lot of the efforts and attention has been going into autonomous supply chain planning with
Hmm.
the involvement of AI. And it has been rapid. And as I must say, I guess a lot of the current supply chain planning software, including ERP and stuff, are a bit uh, are catching up, are trying to get into this AI and autonomous game, right? And the future of the supply chain, I guess, it really still pretty much rely on, as I said, data, which is going to be very
Hmm.
critical, and only with the necessary amount of right amount of data and the correct data, it will make your entire planning will be much more effective. It's a big it's a big topic to talk about because end of the day, from the entire supply chain management, it actually covers many areas from trade to free trade agreements to logistic planning. It spans across quite a wide area, and really to really have an autonomous way of running the supply chain. um, it might be something that is quite far away from us. But I guess in over the next few years, what we could probably see is there is a lot of the manual planning or the manual work that has been done will be replaced by AI agents that will help to facilitate the entire process. We probably need less planners, but we need more people to work on automation, logics, algorithms to really
Yeah.
help the supply chain to be more effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where I guess the industry is moving at this point in time. Yeah.
Yep. I feel that modernization is already underway when it comes to modernizing ERP systems. Like today, because 80% of disruptions that really happen in supply chain, it happens because of siloed data. It happens because it was on obsolete architectures. So, consolidated modernization with context is, I think, where the entire fruit will lie, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, given the fact that today what the challenge presents today is still the case where the supply chains are still pretty much manual, pretty much reactive. A lot of the automation actually has gone into the actual manufacturing process itself, using
Hmm.
robotics, using many of the other technologies that are being deployed. But then
Right.
on the planning side is where I guess the lacking is, and that's because
Hmm.
really the challenge is actually in the data. And this is where I guess a lot of work could be done, in that space. Yeah.
Right, and not to forget about the compliance side of things because fines are skyrocketing, right?
Yeah.
So many Fortune 500 companies. The other day, I was reading that a company had to pay $100 million fine because its legacy ERP couldn't really trace the supply chain. There was some fault in their production, and there was also a carbon emissions report that came out from their ESG reporting because it's all catching up, right, to them. And because the traceability is not good enough from all the directions, it's getting hit, be it ESG, be it compliance from FCSA, FSMA, all of that. So there are rules also, that the laws that are there, like CBAM, CSRD, all of them, require you to be having that traceability and that audit logging, not only for further analytics purposes, but also for sanity and for just quality check monitoring, etc., right?
Yeah, yeah,
So that doing that at every step has become kind of very, very critical, and the
exactly.
upcoming solutions have to keep supporting it.
Yeah, I
Right.
think you hit the right note that I think on the fact that the initial challenge that the sector has when it comes to supply chain manufacturing and is and even logistics is actually managing the compliance side of things, and the initial compliance side of things focus a lot on customs regulatory
Mhm.
compliance and stuff, and yes, they get into trouble if they have not done it right. The fines can be quite hefty. The initial challenge that the supply chain and manufacturing sector, including the logistics side, have is actually about compliance issues. And
Mhm.
these compliance issues are very much restricted to regulatory compliance, customs, and stuff. And yes, you're right to say that they actually get a 50 fine over it, over situations if they have not managed the situation properly. But then when we carry forward to what today's context is, besides this compliance issue, they are faced with another two more challenges
Mhm.
before the sustainability element came into the picture. They are
Mhm.
facing with data compliance issue. They are facing with challenges of having data protection. This is where a lot of the data leaks results in also hefty fine when it comes to different region. Like Europe has its own GDPR. Many other countries have their own data protection rules. So cybersecurity and data protection becomes one of the top priority. And then today, with the fast involvement of the interests of and the ESG, environment, social and governance, and the environment factor has been very strong when it comes to sustainability. So
Yep.
today's the sustainability compliance is one thing that manufacturers and people working in the supply chains are actively trying to manage.
Yep.
Reporting, sure it doesn't add on to that carbon emission that you're already doing, and not reducing it, but you're still adding it on. So this is where I guess it has become even more difficult to operate than it used to be. But then this is how the sector has actually evolved. Yeah,
Yep. So ESG is popular, and I can realize that it's hitting the hardest to the manufacturing sector, right?
actually,
Considering that there's so much industries.
Actually, it's hitting towards the entire value chain if you look at it. For manufacturers, they are the probably the brand owners also.
Hmm.
So as a brand owner, like the Nikes, the Puma and all this, different big global companies,
Right.
including electronic sector, they have to look at their own scope one and even scope two emission, and then later
Hmm.
on what they are going to go at is at the scope three, which now they are really actively looking at our vendors and suppliers to be able to comply to that
Yep.
to their requirements. And this is where the logistics service providers are hit
Yep.
immediately, because then they'll look at whether are you using electric vehicles to
Yep.
deliver my stuff, is your warehouse green certified, and are you doing a lot of recycling packaging, as part of your warehouse operations and stuff. It's not going to be easy. Today's most of the service providers receives tenders. They when they work on tenders, there are many checkboxes. The checkboxes are increasing. Today, the new checkboxes that are added is: do you have this certification in sustainability? Do you have, have you done this and all that? And
Right.
if you don't meet all this, you couldn't even get into the business with the manufacturers. This is one of the challenge that I guess everybody is facing.
And I think from a tracking perspective also, because it is rising so fast, we again need to identify where are my emissions going high, what's really happening. So again, traceability and having proper checkpoints in the complete supply chain process is also important.
Yep.
So be it compliance, be it ESG, be it quality checks, traceability is something that's going to be required for everything. And when I talk to my clients also, I say that especially if they're using legacy systems that cannot allow this traceability, I would say that your legacy system isn't just outdated, it's actively costing you money, in terms of fines, in terms of additional operational issues for collecting that information together to get benefits, right? So yeah, I think modernizing with context is going to solve more
Yeah.
problems.
I guess visibility and traceability are two very important things, and I would say it is two different things. The industry had a lot of hopes when the blockchain technology was matured for traceability.
Yep.
But then they realized that it takes more than the technology itself to solve this problem for it is international problem. The supply chain logistics industries is not a domestic industry. Is one that cuts across countries, across borders, and it is a problem that even the biggest organization that has been in this sector couldn't solve.
Yep.
Even one government is not able to solve it. It takes many hands to clap.
Yep.
So traceability is going to be another big topic, and whether to have that traceability eventually, and it's going to be still a question mark at this point in time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All these problems are very, very unique for all the geographies. I mean, on the big picture, they may look same, but the technicalities and the complexities are very unique to every region.
Yep.
So,
Agree.
all right, Jeffrey, I think we're at the top of the hour. What's your plan next?
I guess the sector has been very interesting and evolving. I think there's still a lot of work to be done in the sector itself. Well, we are definitely all out looking at the next how the next uh, challenge that the sector is having is going to be impacting how we actually operate. As of now, everybody is still tackling with the same, I would say, pretty much the same issues from data to technology evolvement that we can use in this sector. We're still looking at how we can work on the sustainability factor.
Yep.
I guess a lot of work is still going into that, and the AI involvement is actually in a way helping or not helping the sector itself
Complicating
because
more than helping
yeah, I mean it's complicating.
sometimes.
People are just trying to. I mean, if we are trying to find really really relevant use case for adopting emerging technologies, but then also every technology adoption comes with cost. Comes with challenge of the existing state of things. I mean, if you're not even having a proper data architecture in place, you're not even having a proper storage of your data and all that being organized, and you're trying to put in an advanced system or advanced technology, that's still going to help. So it is still a
Yep.
lot of work to be done in the sector itself. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. All right, Jeffrey. I think we are good. Thank you for your time. Did you have your lunch already?
Yep.
Okay, okay. All right then. I'll see you again. We had discussed like seven, eight topics. I'll mostly come back to you for another one the next time. Yeah.
No problem.
All
No
right.
problem.
So, okay, Jeffrey, thank you so much for joining today. I had a wonderful time. You have almost motivated me to go join a shipping company right now and solve all the problems there. So, thank you for your time. I'll see you again very soon. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Stay tuned for the next episode of Data Decoded. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.